Pradeep sir, you are muted actually. Yeah.
Thank you. In fact, I am now in India, in Dindagal now. I'm joining from India.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have Dr. Kajal Chakravarti sir from ICAR Lucknow, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. And his colleague Poonam ma'am is also here. We are very fortunate that Poonam ma'am had come to our center for a 3-day workshop, and she really participated with a lot of commitment, and we also learned a lot in that interaction. Thank you so much, Poonam ma'am.
Thank you.
Catherine, over to you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, just give me 1 second.
Sir.
I just want
Yes, sir.
to, Admiral Khurshid's name seems very familiar to me.
Sir.
I just want to ask, in case he was there when we had this conference on marine spatial planning in under IORA in Mauritius.
Khurshid, sir?
Did you hear? Admiral, did you hear me?
Sir is muted.
Yeah, but he might have heard, or
He should have heard, yes. Sir.
yeah, maybe he will come back.
Yes.
Yeah, Catherine, you can continue.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today for the webinar on fisheries and aquaculture, focusing on digital transformation, APY framework, and multi-parameter habitat analytics for sustainable blue economic growth. So we are delighted to have with us a distinguished group of speakers and panelists from across the region who bring deep expertise in fisheries, ocean governance, and the blue economy. Before we begin, a few quick housekeeping announcements. I request everybody to kindly keep your microphones muted when you're not speaking. Please feel free to post your questions in the chat box during the sessions. We will take up these questions during the panel discussion or after the panel discussion towards the end of the webinar. To start up the program, it is my privilege to invite Dr. Arnab Das, Founder Director of Maritime Research Center and Neodhoni Technologies, to deliver the opening remarks and set the context for today's deliberations. Dr. Das, I kindly invite you to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you so much. I'll use a small PPT to introduce what is the purpose of this series. I would like to mention that this is a series of webinars that we are hosting to showcase the work that we do and different aspects of the underwater domain awareness that we are progressing. We recently had one detailed webinar on biofouling, which is a very important aspect of maritime management. And we had some very senior experts from all over the world. And it was very well appreciated. We had our research fellow, Suchir from IIT Chennai, who made his presentation. He's a research fellow and looking at biofouling. And then we also had one detailed presentation on the Brahmaputra work that we are doing. We have a student from University College London who's an anthropology student looking at the Brahmaputra data diplomacy on that. And then now this is one on fisheries and aquaculture. We have two of our research fellows, Shlok, who's from IIT Bombay, electrical engineering student. Now he has finished his 5-year course from IIT Bombay, and he continues with us for the last 4 years, working on the aquaculture and fisheries. And under his mentorship, Ashwini has joined us now as a research fellow who's now specifically looking at potential fishing zone mapping. So they will be the star of our presentation today. I don't want to take away anything from them. I just want to highlight that the tropical waters that we are, many times all of you are senior enough and you will appreciate that we look at the West for support and research and innovation inputs. but we need to also appreciate that the tropical waters are very, very different. We have very rich biodiversity, so the potential is very high. But at the same time, we also face a lot of challenges. So I will not get into the details of it, but underwater domain awareness is very critical to manage this very important resource. It has many dimensions, including communities, livelihood, and various aspects. So we need to really focus on this. Some of the important areas that we are looking at: sediment management. So subsequently, we will also be planning one of our similar webinars on sediment management. We have another research fellow from IIT Delhi who has been working on this for last 4 years plus. Then underwater radiated noise, Sridhar is our deputy director. He has been working on this for last 8 to 9 years. And we have made some impact. We are part of the National Task Force on URN management, and our paper, 2 of them have been sent to IMO also, International Maritime Organization. Biofouling, I have mentioned. Fisheries and aquaculture, what we are dealing today. Sustainable blue economy is another big area. It has many dimensions. Catherine herself is driving this. And I would also like to add that for each of these aspects, we have multiple research notes, we have multiple publications, we have a series of e-learning modules. You'll be happy to know that our basic UDA e-learning modules have been uploaded in the iGOT platform of the Government of India, and I'm told that we are the top-rated domain-specific e-learning module. More than 6,000 government officials have gone through it, and it is only growing. And the last one, climate change risk, is also another dimension that we are working on. We are also happy to inform that we have 2 senior professors from Philippines. They are professors in their Marine Police Academy and the Coast Guard Academy, and they have been working with us. One of them is looking at Professor Fabe is looking at the geopolitics and geostrategy in the ASEAN region, and Ms. Andrew Toledo is looking at the community interaction and how UDA can be a significant tool in community development. She herself comes from the Monobo tribe, so she understands the issues there, and she herself, both of them have significant body of work on their own. So the good governance has to be driven by marine spatial planning, and this is what we are working on. Sridhar is putting a complete framework where all the different aspects of the underwater, whether it is biofouling or fisheries aquaculture or underwater radiated noise management or sediment management, a lot of data is common. So he has built, along with his engineering team of 6 people, has built a data framework, and they support the entire algorithm development, computational infrastructure, and whole lot of things to the research team. I'll not go into the details here. This is the framework, underwater domain awareness framework. If you look at the 4 sides of the cube, it represents strategic security, blue economy, sustainability, climate change, and science and technology or digital transformation. All of the 4 stakeholders may have their own specific requirement, but the core is the acoustic capacity and capability building, because underwater it is the acoustics that is the most critical tool for survey. So we are working on multiple aspects, and you can see the smaller cubes, which represents the various aspects of the UDA framework. I call it the comprehensive because it covers almost every stakeholder. It is structured because there's a structure to it, how the policy intervention or the technology intervention or the capacity building needs to be taken forward. It works on 5 pillars, which is research, innovation, skilling, knowledge, and also strategy. So this gives you a broader, and it is inclusive because it even considers the livelihood of communities and the marginalized communities, the coastal riverine communities. So this is the framework all about. It covers a large perspective. And so I will stop here and I will hand it over back to Catherine.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we move on to the presentations, I would like to give a brief overview of today's lineup. We start with the keynote presentations by MRC Research Fellows Shlok, Nimani, and Ashwini, followed by the launch of MRC's webpage on digital transformation for coastal and riverine communities. After that, we'll move on to the panel discussion featuring experts and practitioners on the theme of the day. We will then invite guest interventions. Finally, we'll have Ambassador Anup Mutkal delivering the concluding remarks. We now move on to the technical presentation. Our first speaker is Shlok Nimani, who holds an integrated BTech and MTech degree from the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. Shlok is currently working on the development of the APY tool, which integrates digital analytics to support sustainable fisheries and aquaculture systems. Shlok will be speaking for about 25 minutes on the APY framework and its role in advancing digital transformation. Over to you, Shlok.
Thanks, Catherine. Started sharing my screen. So, hi everyone. Good evening. And I basically look at most of the aspects which relate to the underwater domain and relates to the sector of fisheries and aquaculture. So today we are going to see how UDA framework allows us to enable digital transformation in the Indian Ocean region. And this will be the outline of the presentation. As we begin, we would first try to understand the blue economy and the role of fisheries and aquaculture in the blue economy. And like, why did the government of India per se has said that fisheries and aquaculture, or per se aquaculture sector in the whole agriculture, is a sunrise sector? So what is becoming so special about it? The second is, when we are trying to see the role as well as growth of fisheries and aquaculture, what are the challenges which we have been facing, and which are some of the unforeseen challenges which no one is talking much about, but they can be one of the significant challenges that can plague the growth of the fisheries in the future. Then we will check how UDA framework can allow us in both research perspective as well as technological perspective to try to solve most of the challenges in a strategic manner, so that we can create certain framework, we can create certain tools that allow us to digress from these challenges or can mitigate these challenges for our end users, which are basically the stakeholders, including farmers, policymakers, as well as any stakeholder of the national interest. Finally, I will talk about one of our very flagship and newly launched initiative of gap analysis in position papers, and how does it help. So I have themed my presentation around the idea of sustainable and inclusive growth for all in the domain of fisheries and aquaculture. So while there is a lot to see about the fisheries and aquaculture, we will try to first understand that the overall sector which encompasses the fisheries and aquaculture, which is the growth of the blue economy itself. And the key idea becomes, how can we differentiate or how can we study tropical waters, which have a lot of different characteristics. For example, if I suggest in terms of the climate, the tropical climate has been proven one of the most biologically productive regions. So that means there is already a good growth of the marine life here. The habitat suitability is really good. But let's say if in future this whatever is the environmental parameters today, let's say they deviate, or for example the temperature continue to rise in the these waters, then this may go out of the favorable region, and the sustainability or the growth of the marine life can decrease. Similarly, there are other important aspects in terms of the employment as well as livelihood. Apart from it, it's also a source, this fisheries and aquaculture, if we talk about, is also a source of food self-sufficiency, as a lot of people are seeing seafoods as well as seaweeds, as well as multiple sources of marine life as a good source of protein. And finally, there is a lot of trade relations also which can be established by the exports of the fisheries products. So if we try to understand this last point I made, that there is a lot of shared interest, the trade. So while trade connects us, two countries, when they are interdependent on certain part of the supply chain on each other, then they have certain vested interests. So that means that they will try to align themselves in a coherent framework, which will allow the growth of all. So even if we talk about the Asian Blue Economy Framework, it actually very importantly, the structure framework highlights the importance of sustainable growth. They clearly suggested how conservation, science and technology, as well as capability buildings in terms of a better infrastructure. This infrastructure can be a technical infrastructure as well as the infrastructure in terms of whatever mechanized instruments is available with the fishermen. So in all terms, it tried to say that the value creation can be achieved when we try to combine or we try to give farmer a lot more leverage in terms of what his final produce is. Because when we create value added products, it creates more returns for the government also. Second, the BIMSTEC India Marine Research Network, it aims to actually connect institutions and researchers so that the marine research can be promoted. This marine research can include a lot of things, including, let's say, the knowledge or domain expertise in the policy making for the underwater domain, as well as how the countries are behaving in terms of abiding by the laws which have been set up. What are the laws that can be governed for the, let's say, the EEZ regions for the countries? Then it can be more towards the scientific parts, like the gene editing purpose, the better seed quality. For example, for shrimp, there has been a lot of research going on to improve the productivity by having a better seeds. And then similar can be in terms of technology also. How we can use the new age technologies, which include IoT, AI, ML, and try to integrate all in this UD or what should I say, this oceanic framework to get a better outcome in the blue economy sector. Finally, even all these things, the countries also try to work together in terms of what can be achieved in this shared efforts. So we also, like last year, the Bhutan embassy also reached out for many proposals in terms of how the very Thimphu River, if what are the policy requirements around Thimphu River, and MRC already has a River Warriors initiative as well as Coastal Warrior initiative, which was well proposed in the this proposal which they were looking for. So such research interest as well as scientific interest also drive this complete blue economy initiatives. Finally, if we just talk about try to limit our scope to fisheries and aquaculture so that we can set up the ground for the research we are going to discuss further in it. So because of a lot of vested interest from the government also in terms of initiatives like Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, where farmers are provided a better infrastructure, better instruments, as well as training and capability building, so that they can also, even if there are certain cycles in the fisheries chain, there are certain cycles where farmers are much available to do other parts of the jobs also. So usually in those cycles, farmers can be made more self-reliant by providing them a different source of income, which can be through seaweeds. And ICAR has already made a very bold statement in 2021, where the director mentioned that India has a very great potential of seaweed production of about 9.7 million tons. So that actually sets a bar too high for us, that there is so much we can do, there is so much knowledge as well as technology that I can integrate to drive this growth for seaweed. Currently, for reference, India produced close to just 74 to 75,000 tons of seaweed. So there is a long way ahead, and we are planning for 1 million tons by 2030. So still, it shows that there is a lot of runway which we have to cover. And by just going by the traditional practices would not be too sufficient, because while the traditional knowledge have remained very closely integrated to the or aligned to the environment, like there was not much of the environmental destruction when this small scale communities used to fish. The fishes as well as marine habitat get much time to replenish. But once things become mechanized, people with large trawlers as well as vessels can fish a lot more, which causes all these problems. So now this brings us to the idea of there are so many challenges we are going to face. We have been facing. That's why in 1995, the Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries was made by the FAO, and then the European Union came with the very clear term of the IUU fishing and how we need to curb it. And still to date, many research show that these fishing practices are still prevalent. So how, if people are able to find the ways to go around these laws, we need to identify what are the technically possible ways which we can employ to curb such instances. I will start with just some very idea of what is IUU fishing in terms of why it has become a great threat to the blue economy growth in terms of, because there is a lot of loss in terms of what could have been a revenue source for the farmers just because of the profit and greed, I would say, for few people. So usually, as per this is a common some facts which I collated from different research sources. Some of them suggest that still over some time period of around 10 days to 20 days, they are able to find or suspect that 1800 to 2000 fishing vessels which operate in most of the regions of the world, they are vessels. They don't have the transponders on. So these are just statistical estimates in the papers, and the numbers can be too high also if the resolution is not too like the resolution or the area under which it is tracked is not high. But there are other initiatives, like let's say if I give the example of INCOIS. So INCOIS have this potential fishing zone advisory already, which has been set up for a long time. So what does this PFZ advisory help us in curbing IUU fishing? Let's say if this PFZ advisory is open source, many farmers are able to follow it. So there is a higher probability that a person who is trying to fish, let's say irrationally, he will try to go to a fishing zone with higher potential to find a fish. So the more marine guards can be employed or can be deployed, I should say, in those regions. So that way the productivity of the personnel can increase, and the returns in terms of how much this environmental the revenue which we can save from such activities can be increased, because now we are doing a very monitored, since it is continuously monitored, so we know where to deploy our efforts on. And one of the great way to identify, let's say even if your vessel has transponder off, but we can use remote sensing, and this is one of our interns work who did some preliminary research on it. So the fishing vessels can be, they call it a dark fishing vessel because transponder is not on, so coordinates are not on using AIS. But even remote sensing can capture that there is an instance of an object there. The ML algorithms can be trained to identify whether that object is a vessel or not. So that will help us understand using this satellite imagery. We are able to better track the coordinates of the dark fishing vessels, which have not been traditionally able to do just by relying on the AIS data. Then if we try to just align a bit from fishing, the fishing part to the culture fish part, that is the aquaculture. So there has been, aquaculture is on a rapid rise already. But if we talk about what are the impacts, there are a lot of good impacts. The farmers are getting a great livelihood. We are able to, for the shrimp is a major part of the export basket of India. The forex of 60,000 crores come based on are approximately based on such exports. So, but there has been very structured research which has shown that with in the regions where the shrimp farming or the aquaculture has increased, there has been a negative correlation of the mangroves. It suggests that the mangrove cover has seen a decrease as per World Wildlife Fund wherever the shrimp aquaculture has grown irrationally. And there, what it impacts is it not just only impacts the mangrove, it impacts the whole ecosystem. So overall, in future, what happens, right? Farmers need to abandon that farm because now the farm won't give that much of productivity, or the region won't have that much of productivity or usage. So what does it lead to? It will lead to some crisis, which I am saying is an unseen crisis because there is not much being talked about today. But it will be a very much crisis of the future, which I will call it as ghost farm. What it is like, you have the aquaculture farms. It can be cage culture also, as well as the land cultivation, which is open pond culture. So what can happen if you are abandoning such farms? So then you are wasting the land which has been used for the farm management, and now that farmland is mostly barren because of the formation of sludge, the chemicals used. So it's not much of a use for any other requirement. So what happens is, like, you use something for your own purpose, and now that land is no longer usable for any farming activity. So what it creates resistance in the coastal communities, which we want to avoid. If people are seeing that certain water requirements, certain land resources are just diverted to aquaculture, the farmers who want to do agriculture or farmers operating on salt plains, they may be they may be demoralized, I would say. So what can happen if you are abandoning such things? Greece is facing this problem of ghost cages. So what happened? The capitalist companies created these cages for the cultivation, and with time, what happened? The ROI reduced or something, and then there is a great video which covers how Greece is now facing the issue of these cages being broken down in the regions. So what it creates a negative impact on the marine life. And that's why we, in this all plethora of challenges, it becomes too tough to solve without a structured framework where the role of UDA comes into the picture. So as the Arnab sir explained also, that the UDA try to now relate the blue economy with the application of digital transformation that comes with the science and technology research to make it the sustainable. The blue economy, the growth should be sustainable. I would start with our flagship research on the APY analysis. We coined this whole term, the area production and yield analysis, to try to identify if we are seeing a higher production number, we want to see the underlying story of how is the productivity varying. And this framework allows us to see not just the production. We can have a higher production, but also the area dependence. If production is too much dependent on area, there may be, because since land is a scarce resource, there may be a block in the future that we can't scale further. So that's why how to increase the productivity. It was our first idea. How should we start? So then the idea went from to do some thorough research in the literature to identify if in a farm, if I'm growing a some culture, I would also like to say that we started with very limited set of organism, for example, shrimp. Then we try to expand it to seaweed. Then we also have tuna fishing, as well as we are trying to integrate it with the multiple species of importance to the overall community. So if we talk about shrimp per se, and so what do I need to understand that how does shrimp varies in a certain aquaculture condition and how can I optimize it? That is what a farmer needs. So there has been a great efforts from the Indian institutes. These are very important institutes which have been delivering thorough research as well as thorough understanding. This includes ICAR, CMFRI, the ICAR NF, the National Bureau of the Fish Genetic Resources, as well as the overall INCOIS as well as NIOT. They also have a huge role to play in this, as well as MPDA. MPDA comes at the end of the supply chain where they handle the product exports. And so what did we do? We try to identify the gaps that most of the things is present only in the document format. We can have, let's say, for a farmer growing the L1MA or white leg shrimp, they just know that, okay, these are the environmental parameters they can optimally grow with. But there is a way we can even enhance it. Let's say if I tell you the deviation you can see from 29 degrees centigrade to 25 degrees centigrade, if I can give you that delta X condition that, okay, the weight was W and then you have some change of weight, then that actually gives the policy makers, the strategic people, a lot more insight into this, how much revenue loss or how much ROI they are looking for, how can they even improve it? Let's say if you have, there is a lot of technology that can even regulate the temperature nowadays. A lot of things can be done. So if such insights can be provided using IoT, all these environmental parameters can be fetched using IoT sensors that can actually help the farmers as well as policymakers to understanding more. To avoid any further time on this slide, I would invite you to read this paper in IJMS, as well as moreover the further work, since the whole idea was of this work was to actually to set up a common feedback loop. So whatever research we do, we should be able to disseminate it to the farmer, take their feedback and improvise upon it. So we have a publication coming soon in the ICOE, the International Conference on Ocean Engineering, held at IIT Madras. And there we actually saw this whole thing that NIOT and many other institutes in the IOR region, as well as there are vested interests of other countries also, that the cage aquaculture can be seen as a very great investment in terms of we are able to use that oceanic region which might not be suitable for any other thing. So that way we are able to avoid the land scarcity. But what can happen, right? I told you about this unseen crisis, which we are not talking much about, is the ghost farm. How are we gonna see what is gonna happen in the tropical waters at the 10 years or a decade or decade and a half? So if the waters becomes that part my colleague Ashwini will handle, if the waters become hard or the oceans becoming more acidic, then there is no point to invest further in that. And that's how this APY tool has been deployed as a application, Android application, I would specifically say, and that is also be published in the ICOE conference as it has been accepted already. So finally, this all last 2 pages of research is not any suitable for a policymaker. He is not he won't be directly making insights from the graphs or any of the equations or even the farmer. So we need to think upon how can we disseminate the information in a better way. So here I just took a very simple example per se to show. Let's say if I have a temperature, this resolution is state wise. If I have temperature per state, then I can identify the ratio of which state can have a higher productivity of shrimp versus the others based on just the temperature. If we can amalgamate all other temperatures, all other parameters apart from it, that can even have a higher impact. So that's why I just came to bring this also, that there has been a data limitations in a lot of this work we have been doing. Not a lot of data is available in centralized repository, and that actually hampers something which is like, if we can have a larger and structured data set, we would be able to create more what should I say, accurate models. The larger complex neural networks can be directly fit. We don't need to rely on regressions, or we don't need to rely on our own thinking. The whole correlation, the relation between the parameters, all can be identified using the ML models, which are already there. We just need the data in this domain so that we can directly use the ML model, so that the ground truth which have been coming from these ponds, the aquaculture ponds, can help us build even larger set of models. As this iterative loop, this I was saying, this feedback of improvising, that can even taken to the another level for the farmers. Moreover, there has been already a wave of digital transformation initiatives. This MSP tool from MRC will also try to create something called as a mapping of the IOR as well as the other adjacent regions. So what it can help in, it can identify what are the fish landing centers, what are the potential fishing zones, and this fish watch as well as other sites are already maintained, but we also find in some of our research that there are data gaps on those sites which needs to be taken care of, in terms of let's say a fish landing site may not have a good resolution of data, or the resolution of data might be missing for certain days. That creates certain kind of hindrances in the research. Finally, whatever we are talking today has been, what should I say, field validated or field tested. Our engineering team, from time to time, they go connect with the farmers. We carry out theoretical research sessions with them. We can see on the very bottom left-hand side, our director, deputy director, and our whole engineering team, we are sitting with the farmers, just talking with them, trying to understand what are their requirements and are we doing in the same direction as what they are requiring. Our engineer on the right hand side, we can see my colleague Shreya is there. He is explaining the whole research framework which MRC is doing in very layman terms, so that they can just understand what benefit they can actually get. Cross-border applicability, I would always say, while this research, I am taking some amount of data from, let's say, a research done in Norway, but the transfer learning, which has been a broad domain of machine learning, that can allow us to take this final model and apply it to all other regions. So, and finally, this slide just collates all my points. That how does this flagship work of APY tool? This is just one of the work. We also are working on something known as species identification using machine learning, and potential fishing zones already. So what this automated farm management through APY tool can help, it can increase the productivity of farms, and it will have a trickling benefits in the whole coastal economy. So yeah, I would like to just keep that in that sense. And finally, this is one of our research initiatives which we have been doing. We already have the e-learning modules, we already have our teaching videos, but this gap analysis and position papers actually identify a set of gaps in the whole domain of fisheries and aquaculture. Not only fisheries and aquaculture, we do water management also combined. We try to identify what are the gaps, and the position papers are an attempt from our point of view as we read through it as a research organization, and we suggest from the UDA perspective how we can reduce such challenges. And with that, I end my presentation.
Thank you so much, Lok, for that insightful presentation. Moving on, our next speaker is Ashwini Singh from Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. Ashwini's work focuses on potential fishing zone mapping, which plays a critical role in improving fisheries efficiencies while supporting sustainable resource management. Ashwini, please go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Hello, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Myself, Ashwani Singh. I am final year undergraduate at IIT Kanpur. Also, I'm a research fellow at MRC. So, today I would like to present my research topic on 3D biogeochemical analysis and modeling for predicting the potential fishing zones in the Konkan coast. So, firstly, like why Konkan coast? Like why we have chosen Konkan coast for our research. So, Konkan coast contributes around 41% of Maharashtra's total GSDP, and along with this, around 3,50,000 fisher folks are living across the Konkan coast region in the areas like Ratnagiri, Sindhudurg, and Raigad. Along with this, we have also seen a vast decline of around 42% in fisheries collection in this region, which led us to believe that a lot of climatic factors like ocean acidification, warming of water, and urban flooding are responsible for this. So, to understand it deeply, we are implementing our model and research on the Konkan coast. So, what we are doing? So, our current challenge is to know how the fishes vary in the Konkan coast region. So why we need it? Like there are already some systems currently in work which do the same thing, but there are various limitations they currently have. So we will be catering that. Along with this, uh, it also helps the fisher folk community to know like if they already know like when the fishing will be where the fishing will be higher, in which time of the year the fisheries stock will be higher in a particular place, then the overall output they will be having by going into the area, the farmers will be have higher fishing collections, and this will overall increase their productivity. Along with this, it is also essential for the livelihood and policy making. Like if the government knows how the fishing trend will be changing, how with time and area in throughout the ocean regions, there will be a better policy making of when to ban the fishing in particular regions and when to restrict them. Along with this, this will also help us in stopping IUA fishing, as now we will have the numbers and the data like where the fishes stock will be higher. So now we can deploy our officers, the patrolling police forces in the marine places where these fishes stocks are higher. So that will be the reason for the IUA fishing. Along with this, it will also help us in predicting the climatic impact or climatic changes that is going to be happening in the oceans. It will depend on the fishes stock. So what we are currently doing and how it's different from our current solution. The current limitation of the current solution is like they are currently using only satellite data and only taking very few parameters, two parameters into account, which makes this whole prediction a little bit uh, limited. Like they just take only satellite data and they take a depth which can only capture the readings up to the depth of 1 to 2 meters. Instead, if we come to our solutions, we are taking multiple parameters, to be exact 5 parameters, and we are even considering the depth also of about 100 meter, which will give us a whole comprehensive analysis of the whole water level along with the depth of it also, which can also indicate the future blooms or the future activities that is going to be happening to cause of the depth factor. So how we are doing it? Our methodology involves around the depth and the multiple parameters, and we are combining all these multiple five parameters into a single parameter. And based on that parameter, we are identifying the potential fishing zones, and we are doing this for a depth of 100 meters, as I have talked earlier. So how we are doing it? The 5 parameters that we are going to be using is NPP, net primary production. It's the main food layer or food. It's the bottom of the food chain of the marine fishing life, which is most important for a fisheries. Second, O2, which supports the life of fisheries in these regions, and then is NO3 gradient, which is responsible for the nutrients available in the region and how it will be changing in future. And then the fourth one is temperature, and we have combined all of this to get a single composite single composite suitability index, which formula is written here. We have given them different weightages based on their importance, giving NPP the highest weightage. And using this, we are getting a single index, and we are getting this index for different parts of the region of Konkan coast, so that we will know it will be in a range of 0 to 1, and just looking by the single score, we will be able to tell how the fishing will be there in the particular region and how it will be changing with time. So for doing this thing, we have taken data from CMEMS Copernicus website, which gives us data using satellite data. Along with this, it also considers the in-ground sensors and gives an integrated form of data which has both of two, the satellite data and the sensors data, which help us to identify and figure out things more clearly and do proper predictions. And then the same, we are using trapezoidal rule to cover the depth of 100 meter. So this depth also enable us to figure out how which type of fisheries species will be available in which depth, as they also depend on temperature. So doing the depth analysis also enables us to know about the type of fisheries stock that we'll be getting in a particular region. Along with this was the final result that we have gotten, which is also verified and cross-validated by research from Indian Agriculture Research Institutes, which shows that potential fishing zones will having a bloom in winter season of around 152% in time of around October to January, and also it will see a fall of minus 3.4% in seasons of June to September. So this can also be explained using various real environmental phenomena that is happening currently in oceans. So we got the prediction from this current year data training, we got a prediction that the currently fishing trend catches are going to exceed by 5%, and this will also going to improve the oxygen availability in water. So during our research, we also found out there was a very sharp negative correlation between the temperature and the net primary production, which is also explained in why there is a winter bloom of around 0.67 index, and there is a fall bloom which is very less compared to the winter. As in winter, the temperature is lower, which enables water to hold more oxygen, and there is more number of convective mixings, and more nutrients come to the surface and increase the overall nutrient available for the fishes. I'll be explaining it in the next slide also. Yeah, see, so this is what is happening in winter and what happening in fall, like in summers. So in winters, the temperature is normally cooler, so water holds more oxygen. Along with this, the top of the surface of the water becomes dense, heavier, so it starts moving below, and the lighter water from below, which is also rich in nutrients, cause the top surface layer nutrients is being eaten by the fishes, so they are declining. But the bottom layer, the depth layer, which have more nutrients, is still there, so they start mixing. The nutrient rich bottom layer start moving towards upside, and it replenishes the nutrients available in a region, which attracts more and more fishes in that regions. And this whole phenomenon is called convecting mixing. The same thing can't happen in summers, because in summer the water become stable, it is lighter and it's on the top surface, and even the warm water holds less oxygen, so there is also less number of oxygen available for the fishes in summer, which indicates why we are getting the result of less number of fishes in summers and greater number of fishes collection in winters. Along with this, we are also considering the like I have already told you, we are taking into account 5 factors, in which one of them is oxygen. What current scenario is, their current solution is using only chlorophyll readings and temperature readings, which doesn't account for oxygen paradox. Like sometimes what happen is, when there are nutrients on the top of the surface in oceans, and if fishes don't come to that location for some time, they start decomposing, and they are being decomposed by aerobic decomposition using microorganism. And during this decomposition, they use up all the oxygen in that region and make that region oxygen minimum zones. So if we see from the normal data, like, yeah, that location has the nutrients and the temperature is okay, but in reality the oxygen is not there, so that is oxygen minimum zone, and we won't be finding any fishes in these regions. So this was the special case that we are covering, and that is not being currently covered in the standard solution. Yeah. Along with this, there's also a report which shows like these oxygen minimum zones are currently increasing, and they're pushing the habitat of fishes down to the water around by 30% every year. It will be in next 2 decades. So with all these things, with the current modeling framework, we are using IPCC vulnerability model to assess all the future risks that is going to be in this field. Along with this, in this our solution, we are taking multiple parameters. That is why we are calling it 3D geochemical and geochemical analysis called geobiochemical analysis. Called it takes into account geography, biology, and chemicals of the ocean regions, and taking all things into account, it's giving a common suitability index, we are currently using to plot the whole Konkan region into a map. And with a single map, we'll be able to locate regions with higher productivity in species collections and with lower productivity. And similar, it will be help us for the stakeholders, which are the government policymakers and the fish farmers. So to conclude my final statement, we can use this modeling framework to do predictive analysis. We won't like we are currently, what is happening, we are currently on a reactive basis. We get the physics collection results, analysis reports, and then we make rules, we form rules, we do predictions. But using our current methodology, we will be able to get this data, get the future predictions beforehand, and we can make the amendments, make new policies, and make rules to ensure that everything goes right. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashwini. That was a very insightful presentation. I would now like to take this webinar forward by inviting all of you to the website launch of our new webpage on digital transformation for the coastal and riverine communities. This page reflects the continued efforts towards advancing research and collaboration in advancing digital infrastructure for sustainable freshwater, coastal, and marine governance. For this, I invite my colleague, Ayush, to present the website here. Thank you, Ayush.
Yeah, hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
So, good evening, respected dignitaries and distinguished participants. It is my privilege to briefly present the coastal management webpage developed by the Maritime Research Center under Underwater Domain Awareness Framework. So this platform brings together research, policy, insights, analytical tools, and knowledge resources to support sustainable coastal governance and blue economy initiatives. So we highlight this AI-powered precision aquaculture for sustainable coastal management. So this section hosts a policy paper developed in collaboration with industry stakeholders that explores how artificial intelligence, data analytics, and smart monitoring system can improve aquaculture productivity while ensuring ecological and sustainability along coastal regions. Then the next section, driving resilient river system through community and technology. It hosts a policy document which emphasizes the importance of combining community participation with technological monitoring and governance framework, basically to build a resilient river and coastal ecosystem. Then further on the page, we present the APY analysis tool, which supports analytical understanding of coastal and maritime dynamics by integrating data-driven insights for research and policy discussion. Then we have also developed an in-house e-learning course on coastal management aimed at capacity building and knowledge for researchers, also with for the practitioners and policy stakeholders. Then in addition, the page connects to our knowledge center, where we host research notes and analytical outputs developed by our own MRC interns, creating a platform to showcase emerging research and young scholars' contribution. Then the webpage also features selected articles from the UDA Digest, which regularly publishes insights on maritime strategy, ocean governance, and basically all the aspects of underwater domain awareness. Then finally, we highlight Arnab sir's book on marine eco-concern and its impact on Indian maritime strategy, which comprehensively discusses the strategic, ecological, and governance dimension of the underwater domain awareness. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayush. I'll post the link to the webpage in the chat box for whoever is interested in taking a look at it after the webinar. Moving on, we now go to our panel discussion, where we are privileged to have a distinguished group of experts who will now share their perspectives on the keynote presentation, the UDA framework, sustainable fisheries, the digital tools, and blue economy governance from their own years of experience. Our first panelist here is Professor Attorney Pradeep Kumara, who is the Director General of Coastal Conservation and Coastal Resource Management Department in the Ministry of Environment, Sri Lanka. And he's also the former Professor of Oceanography at the University of Ruhuna. May I request you, sir, to share your insight?
Thank you, Catherine. I think you can hear me clearly. And yes, when I went through the speeches of Sholk and Ashwani and
Sir, you got muted, sir. Pradeep, sir, you got muted.
yes, can you hear me? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Catherine. And yes, I must thank Lokanab Das for inviting me to participate in this symposium or discussion from Sri Lanka. But today I am sitting in India, in Thindagal, sitting in a a cart, give my inputs to the speeches. So when I listened to Sholka and Ashwani and others, so it covered the whole range of blue economy, ocean matters, digital transformation, IUU fishing, and again underwater awareness domain, everything. But then I start very briefly take one by one, very slowly from my side. So blue economy. So blue economy in especially in our region, India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bangladesh, and again even Mauritius, where we are at various where we are at from the development various levels. For example, Sri Lanka, we are focusing mainly on maritime shipping sector and fisheries and tourism, whereas India is adding to that. They are focusing on sea grasses and seaweed farming, because I just came from Cochin, just participating in a seaweed symposium with more than 300 papers presented in various aspects of seaweeds, right? Then into Maldives, they have another, set up, priorities, especially regard when compared to when we think about blue economy aspects. But in region, we are at various levels. Then we talk about the ASEAN blue economy, the called ASEAN development framework. So for that, I think we have to come to us first. We have to come to same page from various points. We should understand where we are. For example, when we talk about Sri Lankan blue economy, we don't talk about Indian blue economy, where they are. These are the very good platforms. There should be a common platform to at least the SARS region, or SAC is not active, but SARS region, or maybe SACEP region, to discuss and support each countries to come to a certain level. Then we can, from that level, we can move into a regional blue economy framework, because in those regions, especially India, you have a very huge EEZ. When you compare Andaman Islands, Nicobar, and here down south in Lakshadweep, right? So you have huge in Sri Lanka. So we have a huge ocean potential, 8 times larger than our land areas. Maldives the same, Mauritius the same. So we have huge, potential for blue economy. So to do that, we had to first come. We had to have common discussion within our region where we are and how we support each other and come to a certain level of development in blue economy. But I know from Sri Lanka we talk, but there's no common package. We talk about blue economy, but we talk sector wise, but in agency wise, there's a one lapse I'm talking. I observe from here, and then digital transformation, data world. Right now, the whole globe is moving to data world, geoinformatics. But in aquaculture, fisheries, where are we? Are we really into? Are we really prepared to take those opportunities here in Sri Lanka? Because we have VMS system Sri Lanka, but that is connected to Indian VMS system. So still, I'm talking about in Sri Lanka. Indian Ocean is a common platform for all of us. It's a peace zone. We respect that. The same way, it should be a common place to get the maximum benefit from blue economy also. So we should share data. To share data, do we have any serious databases? To be honest, Sri Lankan side, we don't have such a proper database about fisheries. We have data, but all are scattered and no common platform regarding database. And then from database, sound database, we move into digital transformation, right? Blockchain, so GPS, so satellites. So still, I know India has gone far ahead. Still, we are depending on other countries to share our data and information. So that's our future. Data is our investment. Data is our potentials there, right? To go to that from regional perspective, because I am putting all these lectures into regional perspective, right? So that is the step we can go. And Abdas is your duty to, and Sri Lankan side is our duty to take this to the regional level and go and discuss and support each other. And because data are extremely important for us to predict our fishing grounds and ensure the sustainability there and make proper management system in our region, because country-wise, we are conflicting in fisheries aspect. It's well known that. So how to reduce that for the data and information side very much essential, right? And again, from tourism side also. Here we don't need to talk about tourism, but we talk about aquaculture. In Sri Lanka, aquaculture is mainly focused on shrimp culture and some fish culture, but mainly coastal. But here, huge demand for mariculture in our country. So especially we have export market in Southeast Asia. We are not focusing on high yield, high expensive species. Research information exchanges. So those are the needs. So I am not telling we are not prepared, but we are prepared. We have to organize. I am talking about the regional perspective. We are Sri Lankan Indians. We are Maldives. We are in the same thinking pattern. I am talking from that level. Then the regional policies, right? We have some regional policies for waste management, transboundary waste, and waste management in Bay of Bengal region. But how much we are applying? But we have lots of platforms here, but those are not operating regularly, right? So, and I am just in this my short spell. I'm proposing here. Yes, working in isolation, we have some information, but what I'm reiterating here that we have to put our heads together, information together, have a common platform. We are mainly focusing on Indian region and develop a mega database and work on blockchain. So whatever we discuss, GPS and maybe our own GPS systems, and that will help each other, help the region. Because ultimately, whatever we do that serve our poor communities. In the global scenario, we are having the poorest coastal communities. We should support them. That's why we talk about blue economy, whatever, at the ocean policies. Therefore, I think at the end of my comments here, I reiterate that of course we should start sharing data. But before that, we start exploring what we are having in Sri Lanka, what others have in Bangladesh, in India. So let's find out what we are having, then start sharing, then go for a regional program. We are from that. That will of course support each other. Ultimately, we can ensure a better, very open Indian Ocean region where all of can capitalize and get the maximum benefit from blue economy. So that's my last input from my side. Anabdas, kindly excuse me because I had to rush for the next meeting. So that's, but I'll be listening later. But thank you for everything, and thanks, panel members. Thank for all the presenters, all the very best. And I remain here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We will now move on to our second panelist. Our second panelist is Dr. Poonam Jayant Singh. She's a senior scientist at the National Bureau of Fish Genetic Resources under the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. She's also actively involved in building innovation and startup ecosystem within the ICAR system. May I request you to share your insights, ma'am?
Good evening. Good evening, all panelists, especially Arnavji, and the wonderful presentation by Ayush and by Ashwini. I would like to start with the way the presentations were done. One was on aquaculture, how aquaculture is impacting mangroves. So and about the ghost farms, and also how do we tackle this? Now, mangroves, we know that it takes up, it is a very big thing for carbon source. It captures more than the forest area. So how do we take this forward? Now, as ICAR NBFGR, we have the duty of conserving and sustainable utilization of aquatic genetic resources. So we also think that mangroves becomes very important for protecting of the coastal areas. So that we would like to work on, and we also have some work. We are working with the tiger widows in Sundarban areas. So what happens is the women, they go to pick crabs, and while they are there in the Sundarban deep forest region, they are attacked by tigers. So we are tackling that issue also. If we are able to come up with a answer where we are able to give them crablets, where we are able to give them breeding protocol for crab culture, that would be one area which I said NBFGR would like to work on. Then coming onto the international waters, we would like to talk about more about the Indian Ocean region. And recently, when we look at the framework, government has declared that beyond EEZ, if a ship so they can capture the fishes, and that will be tax free. So how do you regulate these issues? And also about how ocean depletion in the ocean is happening. Zero ocean zones. These are issues that needs to be tackled. We need to create marine sanctuaries. We need to create areas which are where ships are not allowed to go. Such things would only come once the whole region is studied. Now, because of the huge transportation that goes about the ships, we know about the acoustic. Sir has been speaking about it. How do we come up with a policy issue where we create zones which are like sanctuaries, marine sanctuaries, where we protect our the coastal biodiversity, the aquatic genetic resources. Then there is also one issue of deep sea mining. Once a person gets clearance from ISA for deep sea mining, we are looking at only the that what mineral resource we will get. But what is it? How deep sea we have not studied. What are we losing while we are mining deep sea? We have not studied that. So once we don't know what is lost, how do we quantify what losses are we bearing? So those issues also should be taken care of. Then bioprospecting is one issue where we can also have a lot of bioprospecting and the access and benefit sharing out of the bioprospecting issues that we take. Because all oceans are interconnected, and you cannot have a sharp line of 200 nautical miles, or if it is being extended to 350 nautical miles, also even we cannot have a very sharp demarcation. Now, without this sharp demarcation, how are we going to access the resources, and how are we going to help for benefit sharing? So can there be a common pool, or how is it going to work around? All that are issues, policy issues that countries have to regulate. And if you're having a patent, for example, about it, and you come up with a very strong pharmaceutical product, how does that help countries to share those resources? And who is going to share? And what about the landlocked countries? How are they going to access ocean? And before all those things, I would like to invite.
No, thank you, Dr. Arnav. I think Dr. Arnav has told, I think, very important points. She has mentioned about that access and benefit sharing, because we all know that no intergovernmental organizations, so they take a lot of, like Indian Ocean Tuna Commission and other UPCs, BOBPs. So they take a lot into this, and know that access and benefit sharing, as from my friend from Sri Lanka also, then Dr. Pradeep has also mentioned, rightly mentioned. So we should work like a South-South collaboration. Basically, it is not like, and very demarcation will be really tough, because we are mentioning that potential fishing resource, and this is a major concern, because of course that it's like a BOBP or Indian Ocean Tuna Commission of the intergovernmental organizations play very major roles, as Madam has mentioned, because we have not actually gone into deep into the ocean. Whatever we have worked at the only coastal side. For example, you are talking about seaweeds. So seaweed is such a things, and I was hearing, I think one of you, they are mentioning about the seaweed farms. So is all, I think, digital, like AI based shrimp and seaweed farm. So, but no, now there are companies like C6G from Bangalore. So they are now venturing into the deep into the ocean for sea farming, and that still becomes like then. Yet when you are going to deep into the sea, I think that the intergovernmental organization play a major role, and how to benefit and access here. I think these are some of the points, and also some of the things like you have already mentioned the potential fishing zones. Dr. Patak is here with me. Actually, he is also expert in this area of this one potential fishing zone. He is to take regular classes. So now I was hearing from him that this, because chlorophyll, there are different models. Basically, chlorophyll and other based upon the different model. Basically, these are all PFZ. Basically, determined by the existing data, like how much strong is your data sets are. So based upon that, you are developing your PFZ. And Dr. Patel is also mentioning that demersal fishes, and you are also mentioning, I think, one of the lectures that particularly sardine, mackerel, tuna. These are some of the pelagic fishes. It is only applicable, but when you go to the deep into the sea, deep into the ocean, so I think remotely operated vehicles and vessels, I think other technologies, because I don't think there is a paucity of technology. Definitely you can develop PFZ in real-time monitoring. It is not that sometimes, see, you have to have your all validated with your all models. See, models are only applicable when you are having a data set. But you don't have a proper data set, proper parameters, like that can be validated. You have to validate with a real-time monitoring system. So we always do it. So our NBFGR mandate, as Madam Poonam was also mentioning, so deep into the ocean. Also, our mandate is we work deep into the ocean. So we are having projects from MOES diving into the deep. Dr. Ajit Kumar is leading the project from our AGR Center from Peninsular India. So definitely that real-time monitoring, we feel, along with data, AI and all, will be only operating when you are having a real-time data. So, and remotely operated vehicles are very, very important. And now Dr. Patak is here, I think. So I also tell Dr. Patak also put some of the points.
Thank you, sir. And I think all the points have been covered by Dr. Poonam and Dr. Our director also. But, as one of my colleague from Sri Lanka, he has very rightly pointed out that there should be a collaborative platform to share on to discuss something and to operationalize the framework and to share the data also. So earlier to that, I had submitted one research project proposal to the stack also for development of such a collaborative framework. And that collaborative framework, in that I had also given the task of creating the developing the traditional knowledge database, which are for the farming communities which are residing in the coastal areas of those BIMSTEC countries also. But I think if we are going later on, I will share that project also. If you will ask, and then some of the participants from other countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all the countries which are in the South region, and if they are collaborated, I think that would be a very wonderful platform for sharing the views, for having the discussion, and then operationalizing the framework and sharing the data also. And just what our director sir has also mentioned, that application nowadays, the application of ROV is very much important in documenting the aquatic genetic resources. So this is, we are also looking what the directors are, our directors are has told, that how these ROVs are underwater vehicles that can be used in documenting the deep sea resources. Because remote sensing applications, this is a wonderful presentation earlier given by one of the research scholar from the IIT Mumbai, I think so, IIT Kanpur. So yes, he used the depth also. He used the depth also for the forecasting the PFJ. But how much it is afraid, however, that is the validation is very much required. And I think he might have done the validation, but that part was not presented here. So I am very much ambitious to know that what is the accuracy of that, predicting the PFJ. And we are using the PFJ along with integration of other techniques also. So that will give a clear picture of the what is the actual fisheries into the in our oceans. So these are some of the points. And another thing is that what we are seeing nowadays, that everybody is speaking about AI and IoT. Now, what is the success of IoT in the Indian scenario? Because I have seen that, especially let us start from a scratch, from a small pond, and let us put that, because everybody is telling that IoT, and how the IoT data it is coming. AI part it comes later on. When that the data it is coming real time from the different sensors, and we are getting the data through our servers, and that data it is displayed. Then algorithms, machine learning algorithms, and other algorithms are developed for analysis of the data. So actually, with the help of Maritime Research Center, so I would like to focus on that. Let us take some pond, some of the area, and develop some IoT network prototype to have the data in real time, and thereafter, when we will be getting the data in real time, we can design the algorithms for analysis of those data. But in Indian scenario, though there are so many papers have been written and many things have been written, but practically speaking, that on ground, where only very few are success. So we have to make it success, and we have to create the history also. So this is what I'm looking for. Look from your side also, since you are very much expert into that particular field. So we would like to have the discussion with you and other partners also who are engaged with you, and we want to implement successfully in the different regions also, for coastal regions, for in the mariculture, for in aquaculture also. Thank you from my side.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes.
Sir, my colleagues, Dr. Pathak and my director sir we have already shared some of our views. And in addition to it, we were speaking about I was talking about the seaweed farming, and how different the companies have come into the seaweed farming, and they would be using ocean. We sometimes also see that people are starting large wind turbines, and even the solar panels they are spreading on sea, and they are using it. So, but how does it impact the aquatic life that is there underwater? How does it impact genetic resources? How does it impact its conservation and sustainable use? All those things are also there that we have to see in addition to conservation. And we should and when we are looking at the EEZ and the shared part, for example, Bangladesh, we have a shared area, and we also have some gray zones. Now, when there are issues cross country, there are problems, then these are expertise in the EEZ and in the waters underwater domain, that becomes very important. Even with Sri Lanka, we do share, but then there are issues with fisher community being captured by them. So though they are having those sensors, but we are not able to. That part should also be looked upon. Or if we are giving some shared waters, how do we take those things forward? Those aspects also that you would like to have your expertise to share. And also how landlocked countries, how do you give that access and benefit sharing to those landlocked countries who don't have any ocean? So as we know, the BBNJ clause says that they'll also have some sharing. So all those things should be defined, and those things have to be taken care of. A very good point that came out of Ashwini and Shlok's presentation was the mention of river warriors. So we can also implement that kind of thing. If we have river warriors, they can help in establishing river sanctuaries, which will further help to conserve aquatic resources as such. And these are the things, sir. So if anything else our team would like to say, I think we can have a talk.
I think very good discussion actually. Very good points raised by Dr. Poonam and Dr. Patak, and very good points. And PFZ and all, there are of course limitations, like PFZ, if you see, like a small scale ecological factors, and also some of the ocean dynamics, because we are working in this area, are very important. And we prefer from it, because our major thing is conservation, as Dr. Poonam was mentioning. So it's very important to take along with that. So definitely it's very important things to look after, and now we are very much eager to look forward for further deliberations. Thank you
so much.
Thank you
so much, sir. I think we have two more very important speakers, and whatever Dr. Kajal and Dr. Poonam and sir also mentioned. I mean, Poonam ma'am has seen it in our center. We have a cross section of researchers working on different areas. But today, since we are focusing on fisheries and aquaculture, we have not been able to discuss it today. But I think on a one-to-one basis, we will take this discussion forward. And many of the points which Poonam ma'am has said will be answered by Ambassador Mudgal sir. And we also have Rear Admiral Khurshid Alam sir after this. Sir will also throw some light. So, Catherine, back to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Chakravarti, Dr. Poonam, and Dr. Pathak, and the ICR team present today. Once again, special thanks to Dr. Kajal Chakravarti for being here and sharing a valuable perspective. Our final panelist is Rear Admiral Khurshid Alam, former Maritime Affairs Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Bangladesh, and former President of the Council of International Seabed Authority. He is currently the chairman of National Oceanographic and Maritime Institute in Dhaka. May request you, sir, to share your insights.
Thank you very much, Catherine, and thank you for the Maritime Research Center and Mr. Arnav especially for giving me an opportunity to join here. Only my apology, somehow I'm not that smart in the computer business, so I could not open my camera. That's the problem. But please excuse me on that aspect. And I would say that, thank you very much, Dr. Arnav, for actually selecting a topic which is so much dear and near to us, and wherein we are even failing to make our political masters understand that how much the fisheries alone can actually help us. Even our children these days, they don't like to eat fish. That's becoming a habit. They are more on the KFC and pizza than of fish. But if you look at the FAO figure, that any healthy human being must take 20 kilogram of fish in a year. And if that be the figure of 20 kilogram, right now, whatever the population we have, The world produces around 176 million to 180 million metric tons of fish today. And that's about 50-50. 47% it comes from the aquaculture and around 50% plus comes from the capture fisheries. But by the time, let's say within 10, 15 years time, when people will be increased to another 1.5 billion, where this additional requirement of fish can be met. So that's where our strategic planner must think on. That's a challenge to all the developing countries like us, because we don't have much of the big fishing trawlers. We have these artisanal fishers. As you know, that world's 80% artisanal fishers are in Asia. Asia means, I know, Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, all these countries. So we must have to have a sort of strict look or change our strategy from the land-based items to the sea-based mariculture or even aquaculture in this arena. Well, your topic is very, very, very pertinent, I would say, the digital fisheries. Now, the problem is digital transformation of fisheries, whatever we deal today, most of our fishermen, they don't have any idea about digital transformation, Even some of the trawlers in Bangladesh, as I know, even in Indonesia or even India, they also have very less idea about what is the digital transformation means, or how do they apply. So in that sense, I would say that Maritime Research Center have taken up a very good crusade to actually impart knowledge to our fishermen that, well, look, whatever you are doing, it's fine for the time being. But if you look at 10, 15 years, when the requirement of the fish will be much more than what we are consuming today, then we need to, change our course. Like, shrimp culture. We do shrimp culture. But look at Thailand, it has gone to Hanami. And then the production of Hanami is about 22,000 kg per hectare. Whereas the normal shrimp, if you look at, it is hardly 400 to 500 kilogram in per hectare. So there's this sort of difference we have even in the shrimp culture. Yes, digital transformation is very much required, because if we don't have data, then what you do? So in the digital transformation, you need Internet of Things and sensors, satellite, vessel monitoring, and even AI, then blockchain traceability system and digital data platforms, which we don't have many of them now. Some integrating data platforms, because we lack in the problem of fisheries database. We really do not have. Yes, in this area, maybe Indonesia and India, you have a lot of data, but look at us like Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. We are also fish eating nation, but then we really don't have enough sound database on the various types of fish we have. Even in the Bay of Bengal, it says that 475 species of fish, we have. But then how many? What is the, allowable catch of this, which is stock? What is the maximum yield, What is the maximum sustainable yield? None of our countries do calculate that what is the maximum sustainable yield of any particular type of fish, which we like and we do catch from the sea or from the others. Because if you look at the rivers inside the land, most of the fish we had 30 years, 40 years back, they are no more existing now. It really is unfortunate. So that's why I think what you have rightly said, that this analytical framework, that's a must. Unless we have this analytical framework, data analytics, AI models, predictive tools, and all those, then it is going to be very difficult for us to move in the right direction as it is coming. And it is not only the analytical framework, but we also need the multi-parameter habitat analytics in both normal fisheries as well as aquaculture. And these are the fundamental determinants of fish productivity, species distribution, and overall ecosystem health. And that is applicable equally both in fisheries and aquaculture, because environments, they dictate the fish growth, survival, migration, and the productive successes. So multi-parameter habitat analytics, I would say that that's a must for us. And is it also in the sustainable development growth? If you look at that, the target or goal 14, it talks about the underwater conservation of everything else in the thing. So if you want to make it sustainable, sustainable has 3 requirements. That means first, you have to have ecology. And our ecology, I can tell you that that's not giving us a good sign. Ecology, whether in the rivers or whether in the marine waters, because of our ship recycling, because of our unplanned structure and everything else, whatever we're doing. So ecology is not that good, because most of the industries we have on land, they are actually polluting our sea. And there is no doubt in that. If you have carried out a little bit of research, and we can find out. If you look at in my young age, let's say in the 80s, I have a cancer patient maybe out of 100,000 only one. But today, even in Bangladesh, we have cancer patient maybe 5 in 5,000. So that is not coming from the sky. That is not coming from any of the hidden source. That is coming from all this pollution what we are doing. Many of us, we really do not know. It is not only the plastic bottle, but it is also, pardon me, all the ladies present here, that whatever makeup you use, the lipstick you use, they are also micro, 0.5 millimicrometer plastics. And these plastics, when you use them, you wash them off in your home, they actually find their way to the sea through the rivers. And then they are so small, the fish thinks they are food and they eat it. And the plastics cannot be digested. And that's another problem. So the plastic pollution is actually killing us. And we need to also look after that in the multi-parameter habitat analytics without any doubt. And of course, in the sustainable and main important thing is the policy. Now, the policy is made by the government, but that policy, it needs to be actually implemented by the society. So if the society is not actually aware of what is happening, how do you, make policy implementing? The policy may be however good it is, but if the society does not accept it, doesn't understand it, fishermen do not understand it, they do not try to implement it, I can tell you that those policies will sure to fail, because most of our cases in the policy, do we have, the fisheries management, good regulation, or the blue economy? Even if we talk about blue economy, yes, in the blue economy also, digital technology can help, whether it is blue or circular or blue growth, anything. But digital technologies to address the food waste and also the quality of the water, that's important, whether it is dissolved oxygen, whether it is salinity, whether it is chlorophyll, whether it is temperature, whether it is nutrient levels. Many of us fail to understand that the fertilizer we are using in the land today, the additional fertilizer is not eaten by the crops, or by the paddy fields. So additional fertilizer, when there is a flood, they find their way into the sea. So these additional fertilizer, if not used properly, they are producing algae, and algae are eating away the oxygen. And if there is no oxygen, you will not have fish. The fish will have to migrate to the areas where probably they will get a better condition to live and survive and reproduce. And that's the problem. What we are actually ignoring at our own peril. And those are the difficulties I find. Then even if we are make the policy and the governance, the idea is to make the sustainable blue growth. If that be the case, the productivity, sustainability can ensure our food security, provided we do take care of the water quality, we do take care of the contribution of the digital transformation, all the thing, the remote sensing, the satellite-based data analysis, as I said, digital data platforms, all those things. Then in the ultimate end, the blue growth and the blue economy both will flourish. And because of that, I give you one example, that fish export, say Indonesia, they do about $12 billion per year. Thailand, they do about $7 billion. India, about $5 billion. Whereas India should have been the first in this case. Bangladesh, we do only export fish worth of $450 million. 450, mind it, we have to feed our 170 million people as well. So this is an area where I would say the Maritime Research Center, I will compliment that they must put in more effort so that more research work are produced and shared with us, and we need to collaborate in this field. Because the liquid medium, the sea, you cannot divide. There is no border line. There is no border checkpost. There is no BGP or BDR or BSF in the sea. So that means fish and everything else, or whatever the, you spoil the ecology, they all migrate from one area to another area. So that's why we need to have collaboration, if not on the land, but there must be a cooperation and collaboration out at sea, so that we can come to some sort of understanding to ensure sustainable blue growth, keeping the sustainable maximum yield for the specific type of fish, as well as we announcing allowable catch of the fish. Let me also give you one example, like Hilsha. Now, Hilsha, we call it Jatka, less than 25 centimeter. So mother Hilsha catching is banned in October, November. And then from then on, about 7 months, up to 25 centimeter of fish, they are banned. You cannot catch them. But in real terms, who is going to see this? Navy is busy with that. Coast Guard are not equipped with that. Ministry of Fisheries do not have any fishing ship. So that means we are all relying on the God Almighty that to come and help us. That's not going to happen. It is we who must take initiative. People like Maritime Center and all others. We really don't have a counter organization in Bangladesh, because we are also busy with the land only. Whatever resources we have on the land, we are not yet looking into the blue economy or the blue growth for our sustainable insurance and the food security. Finally, I will appeal. One of the panelists has said that deep sea mining. I don't know how does deep sea mining comes into this digital transformation of fisheries in aquaculture. Deep sea mining is going to take place for polymetallic nodules, cobalt is crust and others, and they are 5 to 6 kilometers below the water. You really don't find, other than the marine genetic resource, normal fish under 200 feet of water or 300 feet of water. So the deep sea mining, seabed mining is unconnected with that. I was the chair there, I know, and we also are trying to make rules and regulations and the convention for deep sea mining for the last 4 or 5 years. But it is not progressing, because most of the time these meetings are actually sorry, Ambassador Mudgal is here. They are represented by our, not by India, but most of our countries are by the diplomats. The diplomats, they don't study fisheries or marine biology or oceanography. So they don't have much of the ideas. So that's why in the International Seabed Authority, we are stuck for the last 4 years to say what sort of deep sea mining should be allowed, even for countries. And that's why the America is taking an opportunity. America has a different mining rules, and they are not part of the law of the sea convention. So people are going to American system to capture this deep seabed mining. So that's the another part of the way I would say. But let me finish up. I think I have used up my time. That if we really want to have the sustainable blue growth, then there is no option rather than to make good policy, but good policy for good management and good implementation. You can make a policy, but if it is not implemented, then whatever you call it, ocean economy, blue economy, or circular economy, is not going to support. But for the teeming millions of our country, even for India and for Bangladesh or India and Indonesia and other countries, we need to put a lot of our stress on increasing the fish output, for not only for the health of our people, that is 20 kilogram per man, but also for the health of our economy by exporting or earning dollars from abroad. I will stop here. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Mudgal sir. Sorry, to talk to before you. We know each other also or not, but thank you all very much. You have contributed. It's very sort of learning session. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we move on to our concluding section, I will like to highlight one of the questions that we received in the chat box, which is addressed to MRC. So I request Dr. Das to address that. The main concerns, I'll just read the question out. The main concerns with regards to shrimp industry are today biosecurity measures and addressing diseases such as the white spot syndrome virus and yellowhead virus. How can MRC help top shrimp producer countries in this regard? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Catherine. I think there were a couple of points which were made by even the panelist, Dr. Poonam ma'am also has talked about a couple of things. I think the marine special planning that we are working on, or the digital transformation that we are working on, will answer most of the points. And now what we are doing is, instead of just individual researchers working on a specific area, we are also making sure that there's an integrated approach. Today, there is not much of time, but my colleague Sridhar could have made a presentation. Water quality management and various other factors are very important. Khurshid sir also mentioned about that. So we are trying to take care that it is, and I want to mention that even Pathak sir had mentioned about the data validation. Sir, the problem that we face in the maritime domain, the area is very large. I mean, if we just consider India, with the extension of the EEZ to 350 nautical miles, the area would be almost 3.7 million square kilometers. So putting sensors and data validation will not be the best approach. So what we are progressing, as you can see in the presentation also, is a modeling and simulation approach, and then validation of the model. Once the model is validated, then you have a predictive tool, and that will bring down the cost significantly and also build a lot of confidence in the system. And I think Dr. Pradeep also mentioned the same issue, and from Bangladesh, Rear Admiral Khurshid sir also talked about not having the data framework. So we are trying to work on multiple levels in this, and if we follow our presentation, we are trying to make sure that we have a complete data framework, both for modeling as well as field validation. To answer the specifics of the question that was asked about certain disease identification, I mean, it will be a larger UDA framework which will answer those specific questions. I mean, that's what Shlok is also trying to do. The underwater parameters, multiple parameters will be tested, and if there are specific issues that need to be looked at, we will have our researchers looking at that. We have a significant collaboration across multiple disciplines. Even Pathak sir mentioned about traditional knowledge, so we give a lot of value to that. We integrate that also. We have had researchers in the past. We have a very senior research advisory committee member who is a historian and who has significant understanding of traditional knowledge. So I think I'll stop here and hand it over to Catherine.
Thank you so much, sir. As we come to the close of this very engaging section, it is my honor to invite Ambassador Anup Mittal, former Indian diplomat and member of the Blue Economy Task Force, FICCI, India, to deliver the concluding remarks. Sir, may I request you to share your concluding thoughts?
Thank you, Catherine. You know, in the earlier meetings, I also have said so. Whenever I listen to presentations by MRC experts, I go back with a lot of hope. Yes. And the same will happen today. In fact, I am going back with a lot of hope. I am not really a technical expert on these issues, but I have been dealing with blue economy for many years now. Yes. And whenever we were talking about blue economy, be it the task force reports or be it the national framework report, you know, we knew what exactly we wanted from the ocean. Yes, be it the food issue, energy, transport, recreation, or the new issues like biotech, renewable energy, or seabed mining. So we knew exactly what we wanted because we have run out of a lot of land-based resources. But our needs are still growing, right? Whether it's a need or greed, of course, we can debate that. But we want more. And many of us, we think, okay, if we have exploited the land to the last point, can we now go to the ocean? Because it appears to be a very large body, much bigger than the land, and looks to be very benign, right? Because of its expense. So we knew that we want from the ocean more food, we want from the ocean more energy, we want from the ocean better transport, we want many more things. But what our handicap was that we did not precisely know what the ocean wants from us. So we always talk about tangibles and intangible benefits. But our understanding of our partner in this game, which is the ocean, was very, very small. And unless you understand your partner, this benefit cannot be optimized. So that was our challenge. Whatever field of blue economy we were discussing, as soon as we were adding the word sustainability to that field, we had a massive challenge how to really bring empirical understanding of that challenge, which means how would the ocean behave? Because of what we have done to the ocean so far in conventional or unconventional sources, the ocean is suffering. Its ocean's health is in a terrible condition. Be it the pollution or acidification or warming or loss of biodiversity. Whatever we look at, or the warming, in fact, now the latest, many of those consequences are the result of what we have done. And we have done most of those activities, as Admiral Khurshid mentioned, on land. So what we are looking at, the symptoms in the ocean, these are the results of what we have done on land. Now just imagine when we start doing more in the ocean directly, what could be the consequences? In fact, I have been saying that for very long. In fact, also when we were discussing the MSP, the marine spatial planning for making our intercourse with the ocean more sustainable, the argument that we all were coming to was that, when we deal with ocean, what happens to the ocean is not over the ocean water, it's under the ocean water. Whether it's a chemical change or it's a biological change or it's a physical change, it is happening underwater. Yes. And that is one sphere where our understanding was so limited that we were not able to come to a conclusion how much more we can expect from the ocean. Now, the reason was because of the expense of the ocean. We knew that the amount of data we need is immense, and we didn't have the capacity of gathering that data. We didn't have the capacity of rightfully analyzing that data and then arriving at models and simulation, as Arnab always mentions. But now you see, for last some 5-6 years, we have been now discussing the possibilities of underwater domain awareness. Because when we talk about the maritime domain awareness, large part of that awareness was surface awareness of the ocean, right? But now when we deal with underwater domain awareness, I think that is where the answer lies. If we start understanding the underwater domain awareness, then we would know what are the red lines which we should not cross when we deal with the ocean for economic resources. So that is where, in fact, I value a lot what MRC is doing. Every large kind of a vision begins with a small step. And maybe these are small initial steps, but at least they are opening the doorway to a bigger understanding of the consequences of our interaction with the ocean. Now you see what Anna mentioned, what we are trying to do. Of course, not me. I keep an eye on or to try to upgrade my own knowledge, what these experts and youngsters are doing. Now they are converting those happenings under ocean into digital parameters. And once we have the digital parameters of those aspects, it becomes much easier to analyze them applying the artificial intelligence tools. And once we are able to do that, and then of course the validation on the ground, because MRC is deploying a large team for validation of their data on ground. And once the validation is done, and probably repeat the validation a couple of times, then we know if we do something to the ocean, we know exactly how the ocean will respond. And we will be able to draw red lines that should not be crossed. I have been talking, in fact, Admiral Khurshid also mentioned about when he's talked about cancer. I've been talking that, where just see how we deal with human health. We develop markers, and those simple markers can tell us about a more serious disease without really digging deep into the body. Now, using these digital tools, can we develop those markers with regard to the ocean health? So that once we see something which may be very simple, it could be, as somebody mentioned, about chlorophyll density, it could be something else, it could be the pH of the water, it could be maybe the oxygen content variation with depth or something like that. Now, if we are able to develop those markers and their consequences in terms of the larger impact, I think we would be able to develop those red lines. And those red lines would be very important for developing marine spatial planning programs, because otherwise it will be almost impossible. And then what MRC is doing a very noble task. They are not keeping their work to themselves. They are sharing their research and outcomes with anybody and everybody who is interested. Now, if there are common interests, today there are so many expert institutions present in the meeting. If there are certain issues which they share, can we come together and create those synergies for better understanding and better application? And then, of course, MRC, what they are doing, again, the very incredible thing, they are trying to take their knowledge to the ordinary people dealing with the ocean, especially, say, the fishermen, for example. So, as Admiral mentioned, unless people know what we are talking about, no amount of policy will succeed. I think that is what MRC is doing. They are carrying their complicated message in a very simple language to the ordinary stakeholders. And so that those ordinary stakeholders are able to appreciate what they are trying to do is for them. Because at the end of the day, MRC on its own would not be the beneficiary of those. These would be other stakeholders. And I think that, again, is a very, very thing. Coming to fishing, the topic, I think I'm hearing some noise. Yeah, when I was working on a report on fisheries long time ago, and we had extensive dialogue with the stakeholders. Admiral, you mentioned it, and we see that in data. Over the years, the contribution of aquaculture in the overall yield has substantially increased. And if you ask me, all the challenges of fisheries, be it overfishing, fishing, or loss of biodiversity, or whatever we may call it, partly the answer lies in aquaculture, which means our increasing production in aquaculture can leave the rest of the ocean relatively free, which means we'll allow the ocean and the biodiversity and other parameters to recover their normal health. More we interfere with the ocean, more we damage. And aquaculture in that respect is one answer which can reduce the pressure on wild catch. And if we reduce pressure on wild catch, a lot of problems of the biodiversity in the high seas or in the ocean may be addressed. But when we are dealing with aquaculture, in fact, we discovered there were problems of aquaculture also. though it really helps a lot in terms of optimization of field by way of the species selection, by way of the disease control, and by way of the feed control, and so on and so forth. But they are also they are also susceptible to adding to a lot of problems if not done well. And this is also, in fact, is related to the underwater domain environment. If, for example, we understand the water environment of the aquaculture, we know where the red lines have to be drawn, be it the feed quality, be it the your medicine application, be it whatever else we have, species mix or whatever. I think that is where I admire the work being done by MRC. They are working on sectoral issues. Today we had fisheries. I'm sure some other day they will be talking about other things. But when you combine all those sectors, we have the complete picture of blue economy. And for making blue economy more sustainable, I think we need to understand the ocean. And for understanding the ocean, what MRC is doing is going to play an important role. With these words, I will stop. Maybe if there are questions I would love to answer. I will just refer to one issue which Admiral Saab mentioned about seabed mining. Admiral Saab, seabed mining is one area where our understanding of the consequences is almost nil. Forgive me for saying such an extreme expression, that understanding of the consequences is almost nil. So it's a dark area where we do not really fully understand the consequences of our action there. Therefore, we have to really move with tremendous amount of care. And even there, the underwater domain awareness can play a role in our experimental approaches and then see the consequences. I have seen reports where some experiments were done in underwater seabed phase, and the biodiversity in those areas have not recovered even after 40 years. So this is not really as simple as we might sometimes think. Unless the technology for seabed mining matures, which means it mines these polymetallic nodules without disturbing the adjoining environment, I think we should really take one step at a time and very carefully. And that is what I thought I would say. And coming to cooperation with other countries, of course, that is one major priority for India, be it within the IORA or BIMSTEC. But as many speakers mentioned, this whole cooperation will work on mega data analysis. And this mega data analysis would require the platforms, common platforms, where data could be shared and analyzed as a public good. And I think we need to take more steps in this direction. But I'm very sure very soon we'll be there. So with these words, I thank MRC very much and all participants for at least enlightening me, because as I said, I am not really a domain expert, but I'm a journalist who watches these development and tries to speak on behalf of ordinary people. I'm one of the ordinary, right? With these words, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much for concluding this webinar with such a comprehensive eagle's eye view. So you're not here in anything but ordinary. But and before we close, I'd like to take this opportunity to announce a few interesting developments in our publications department at MRC. Several important works are currently underway. These include the Marine Spatial Planning Handbook, co-authored by Ambassador Anup Mudgal himself, UDA for Indo-Pacific, an edited volume on Brahmaputra, UDA for Indian Ocean region, and monographs on the Brahmaputra Basin, Indus Basin, the Blue Economy, and many more. In addition, our gap analysis and position papers are also being prepared for publication by Springer Nature. So we are collaborating with Springer Nature for a series of publication, and these are some of the names. The replicability and scalability of the research undertaken at MRC are also being leveraged to address a range of stakeholder issues within the UDA framework, covering areas such as blue economy, strategic security, climate change and sustainability, and digital transformation. Most importantly, it would not be sufficient merely to thank Ambassador Anup Mudgal and our other senior experts who have consistently guided and supported our various endeavors. And finally, I sincerely thank all our speakers and panelists for their valuable insights. We also thank all the participants for joining us and contributing to this discussion on sustainable fisheries, digital innovation, and blue economy development. We hope today's conversation will contribute to stronger collaboration and knowledge sharing across the region. Thank you once again, and we look forward to continuing this dialogue in future engagements. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Mudgal sir, Rear Admiral Khurshid sir, Kajal Chakravarti sir, and the team from ICAR. Thank you very much for joining us and making some very valuable points. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who would love to join such
sir.
thing, as Ambassador Mudgal is clapping, let us also join hands, sir, to give a big clapping for Dr. Arnav, Well done, MRC.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Das. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dr.
sir.
Arnav.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.